welcome to another week with author Ejamie. Um, so past weekend was my first official week back at work at the evil day job after I fell down and went boom in like mid-October. Um, fix that. And it, I was pretty much sitting down the whole time on cash, and it they were shorter shifts, but they dragged on forever because I was sitting down at cash. Now, I never considered my job a boring job, but the past couple of days, I've been so bored. And it's like I've, like cashed out a few people and like that I was always like welcome when that happened because I was doing something. Um, but yeah, I would stay on cash pretty much, and every like once in a while I would get up just so like to sort of like get circulation going in my legs and kind of strengthening them. Um, so for now, like I'm still kind of walking with a limp, but I can move faster and I can actually put weight on it now. Um, it still gets a little sore, but it's like much better, much better than it's been. Um, um, so I'm happy with that. Tomorrow, Thursday, I will be going to the doctor for a checkup and seeing if I'm ready to sort of resume my normal duties. I want to resume my normal duties, but yeah, we'll just kind of see what the doctor says because I feel like maybe I can now. Like I'm still limping, but I don't know. Like I feel like I can. I don't know if I'm ready for like an 8-hour shift of like being on my feet, but at least more than what I'm doing this week. What I, because it, the thing I like about this evil day job is that you do different things. You're on cash, or you're on the floor working, like doing organizing the racks and all that stuff. And I like that a lot. I like organizing things. Um, so I'm really looking forward to getting back to doing that. Uh, so we had our first snowfall yesterday, and the weather is getting a little cooler, a little colder. Um, but I do still want to go out today. I think we have like it's -1, but like the wind chill is like -6 or -7 or something like that. So I do want to still like I want to bundle up and go out on a little walk. Um, and I want to go to the mall because I want to get one of those. I want to go to Bath and Body Works and get one of those scented plug-in things. Because I like those. I've gotten them. I've gotten like the Airwick ones from the from Shoppers from the drugstore, and I really like those a lot. And I want to see which ones Bath and Body Works has because I've seen like on their website and stuff. They have like a lot of different ones. Um, so that's the plan for today. Um, I'm also probably going to be doing my reaction for season 12, Supernatural season 12, episode 10 today because my sister's been waiting for that one for a long time. And it's just, I've just been like recording other things. And yeah, so I think I'm going to be doing that today. What am I watching? I have mentioned that I'd started watching the Brazilian telenovela A Muralha, and I'm liking it so far. Again, it's about like the founding of the nation of Brazil, and we have an arranged marriage, a couple of arranged marriages. We have one between a sweet, innocent, naive girl named Beatriz and this guy Tiago, who has some issues. He is apparently feels like he is clearly in love with his wife, but he feels like he's not good enough for her, so he's doing that thing where he keeps pushing her away. But she is in love with her husband and she wants to be his wife and she's not giving up on him. And I'm thinking, like, this girl here was the girl that, like, I wasn't sure if I liked her or I didn't. I've decided I don't like her. I really don't. Because she's weird. She's like this Brazilian girl. Like she's like she's Thiago's cousin. And but she's like with the Indians and she's like this feral sort of wild woman. But it's she's not a likable wild feral woman. Like it's not like, oh, she's a strong warrior woman and like, like, no, she's like just screwing things up for people. She like this guy, like Chagu's father, he has like I think three sons, and they're all married at this point. And she's just like like causing problems for like all of them. There's one couple that more than anything the wife wants to have a son, but so far she hasn't been able to get pregnant. And she this girl, she's like giving her like herbs and like drugs and stuff to like make her high, saying that it's going to help her to get pregnant, but I feel like she's just messing with her. Um and yeah, I don't like her. And I think like I know that like she's pregnant, and I think it might be because something happened between her and Thiago. I think they might have slept together because she is really like she hates his new wife, and she's always like looking at Thiago like she clearly wants him, and she doesn't like the fact that he is in love with his wife. So it's just I think maybe that is what he feels guilty about and wants to punish himself over and feels like makes him not good enough for his new wife. And so that's why he keeps pushing her away. I think it might be that he slept with this woman who is his cousin. And I don't know if like he was high or she did something to him. I wouldn't put it past her that she like drugged him, and like now she's pregnant and she doesn't want to be pregnant, but she wants him, and I don't like her. I don't like her at all. There's this other plot with the other woman who uh who's we I remember now her name is Anna, and she came along the boat with Beatriz, and she is actually yeah she is Jewish, and she is marrying a Christian man who is a frickin' evil, sadistic bastard. But on her way there, she, like, before she was taken to, like, the guy who was going to deliver her to the husband is this guy named Guilherme. And they actually fell in love with each other. But she had to go through with the wedding to this sadistic piece of shit because he was going to help her father get free from the Christian people who were holding him prisoner because, that's what Jesus said, that the way to make people convert is to torture them and hold them prisoner and, execute them if they didn't want to convert to your religion. Yeah, that's exactly what Jesus said to do. I mean, like that, yeah, right? That's what he said. So she, even though she's in love with this Guillermo guy, she marries the sadistic bastard. And then after they marry, he tells her, like, oh, um, why are you kind of like, because she's clearly not that into him, like, at all. And he's like, oh, why are you refusing me after everything I did to set your father free? To set your father free. Um, yeah. She didn't have to marry him. Her father was already free. So this piece of shit let her go on believing that her father was still being held prisoner to get her to marry him. So we want him to die, and we want her with Guillermo. Um, and then there's Antonia. Antonia is the one who was sort of like I mentioned, was like the funny, sort of uppity, um, very sort of uh, outspoken lady that came with them on the boat. And she is, she decides that she's going to marry this guy who is actually friends with a sadistic piece of shit. So he's not that great either. Um, and, but I don't think she realizes how much of a piece of shit he is. But she's starting to, because she sees him making eyes at this guy's youngest daughter, and the youngest daughter is like totally like naive and is like, oh, this cute guy likes me, and like, oh, um, but I don't know like what the heck she thinks she's doing, because he's clearly married to this Antonia person. But anyway, I am totally enjoying it very, very much, and I'm looking forward to watching more of this today. Reading updates. Well, I finished Pride and Prejudice. Eh, I don't know. I feel like people say that this is their favorite romance novel of all time just to sound smart, because I didn't. It wasn't all that for me. I think this book is like severely overhyped. Like, I enjoyed Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. I enjoyed Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I enjoyed those two classics so much more. So much more. This, like, I didn't. It was just okay. Like, the I liked Darcy. Elizabeth Bennet, for the majority of this book, I found her insufferable. I Yeah, people talking about like, oh, she's the best heroine of all time. It's like, no, she was this vain, stupid thing that the only reason she didn't like Mr. Darcy in the beginning, well, excuse me, in the beginning, for like 90% of this book, the only reason she didn't like Mr. Darcy was because he said he wouldn't dance with her. That's it. That's it. And it was supposed like I get what was happening, like um they were the like she was trying to portray that, like, oh, um Mr. Darcy, he's so arrogant and he thinks he's better than me and blah blah blah, and like, like he is rude and, vain and prideful and blah blah blah, and like, and then as you go along you realize, oh no, Liz Bennett is the one who's like prideful, and like, she didn't like him because she was like caught up in her own vanity. So she wasn't liking him for the same reason that she accused him of being. And it made her insufferable to me. And just the writing style did not work at all for me. Like, this girl, Jane Austen, like, get to the point already with your sentences. She would use like 12 words to make a point of one sentence. Like, okay, I'm trying to like think of an example, but like, if she wanted to say that like uh, someone was sitting on a couch, she would say that like this person was like uh, in the room, and like um, I can't even like explain it properly, but like they had like positioned themselves like closest to the window, and like moved like their knee this way, and like was sitting this way, and like the the constitution of their disposition had them with their feet up or like this, and all to say that they were sitting on a couch. Just, oh my god, I shouldn't have to read a page 3-4 times to figure out what the hell is happening. I just Elizabeth Gaskell, like, yes, they had that like, and this was like written. I'm reading one now that I'm gonna like compare, but just the writing style was so like not, you couldn't get immersed in it because you were going around in circles around one sentence to figure out what the hell she was talking about. And Elizabeth Gaskell, the way she wrote, yes, she wrote in sort of like that old timey style, but it was accessible. And Jane Eyre is accessible. This is just, no, no, it's way too like, I guess the word is verbose. To, no, like one thing is happening, and she takes 3 pages to say it. What the one thing is, and this is supposed to be, and I mentioned it in the last vlog that the banter was not working for me at all. There was no banter in this book. They were just arguing. And it wasn't like I didn't I didn't encounter like banter is like when you're like you're having a conversation with each other, and you're, like snappy comebacks and like witty comebacks and like that kind of stuff. No, they were just arguing with each other. I didn't find any like witty comebacks from her. She would just argue with him. And I believe I said it in my last vlog, and y'all might say this is heresy, but if you want witty banter, read a historical romance, read a Julia Quinn. Like, Julia Quinn's banter blows this out of the water. I no, like, and like I know that like a lot of people are going to be thinking like, "Oh, how dare you compare this classic piece of literature to a popular romance novel and say that the popular romance novel is better." The popular romance novel is better. I said what I said. And just for comparison, I am currently reading Moll Flanders by Daniel Defoe, which was written in the 1700s. And I am enjoying this one so much more. It was written earlier than Pride and Prejudice, but the language is still so much more accessible. And he gets to the point of what is happening. And even this whole novel, thus far, I'm like 82 pages in. This whole novel is pure telling. He is telling you a story. And today it's all like, oh, you have to show, don't tell. Classic piece of literature. It's all, it's all telling. Moll Flanders is completely telling you her life story. Um, and I'm loving it so far. It, yeah, she was born to a woman who was in prison, and think, I don't know if we're gonna see the mother again, but because it doesn't say that the mother was executed, it says that the mother was then transferred to a penal colony in like Virginia or something. Um, and so Moll Flanders grows up poor, and then she ends up going to this, uh, being raised by this woman who is like, very like lovely to her, and then when like she's older, she goes to like be a maid at this house, and she falls in love with one of the brothers, and then she ends up marrying the other brother because the first brother was pretty much just using her, but she was in love with him, so she thought it was, she was totally like brought in under his spell and totally bought that he was in love with her when he really wasn't. And then she ends up marrying the older brother, and so she gets like in a bit of like her circumstances get better, and right now I think she's on her like third husband. And yeah, and it's sort of like just like her life story, and I'm enjoying it immensely so far. Miles above Pride and Prejudice. So that's sort of where we are. I DNF'd A Most Scandalous Proposal by Ashlyn McNamara, because we had too much time. Like it, we had too much time with it's between this Julia, the character heroine's name is Julia, and the guy's name is Benedict, and it's supposed to be their love story, but we had too much time with Julia's sister Sophie in like her point of view, and like again, subplots in romance novels usually do not work for me, and like this one is like no, I'm here for Julia and Benedict's story, but yet we're getting like all this time with Sophie and her like being in love with this guy who's a jerk who actually wants to marry Julia for her money. Um, yeah, so this one did not work for me. So right now for my work time book, I got that out. I've started Kathy Maxwell's A Match Made in Bed, and there's the insert cover, which I love because it's so playful. It's like she looks like she's about to hit him with that pillow, and it's so cute, and I'm enjoying it so far. And yeah, the heroine's name is Cassandra, and she wants to marry this one Duke guy, but her childhood friend Soren comes back and wants her to not marry the Duke guy because he wants her, and but she's like mad at him because he insulted her when they were children, even though like they were like supposed to be friends, and so he hurt her feelings, but he didn't understand why she was mad at him, and yeah, so I'm really enjoying that one so far. So gonna head out and see how that goes. I will show you what I get when I come back. Hopefully something that smells like really yummy. And yeah, so I will talk to you guys later. Just got back from my walk, and yeah, the weather is getting colder, but it was actually really nice. Like if you have like you put your layers on. I had like my sweater, and I had cardigan, and I had my winter coat and a scarf, and it was nice. It was comfortable. So I was like, I'm really glad that I went. I went to my Bath and Body Works and got my um, scented plug-in thing, and I actually plugged it in already, so I don't have it to like hold it up. But I will like insert a picture of it, and it's I have like the little tag for it, and it is the see that. Not sure if it'll focus on it. You can read that, but it says spiced gingerbread, and it smells really good. Really, really good. And it wasn't a lot. Like they have like different sort of like plug-in um things for like you can get like the really fancy ones for like $30 or like $20 or whatever. And then the little like basic one that I got was like $6.50. It's just like a white little like electrical plug-in thing. And then the refill itself was like I forgot how. Oh wait, yeah. There's the. Of course, they always give you the coupon. The coupon to bring you back. Um, October 31st. Oh, October 31st to December 24th. $10 off a $40 purchase. And then there's an online one with 25% off and free shipping with a $50 purchase. And that one's online only. But there's one that you can use in store for the $10 off 40. Oh, so I do think that I will be using that one. Does it exclude? Oh, only says it only excludes gift cards. Does it count with with any other code-based offers? Okay. So that's the coupon to bring you back, of course. But do I? Yeah, here it is. So the plug-in thing. Oh, can I get an itemized one? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so the plug-in thing, the electrical bit was $6.50. The scent itself, like the scented oil itself, was $8. So not too bad. Altogether, I spent like 16 something. So not too bad. Not too bad at all. So going to be got lunch on the stove, and yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing my supernatural reaction today or maybe Friday, because tomorrow I'm going to the doctor's for the checkup. I might do it on Friday because today, by the time I finish my lunch, um, it'll be like early evening, so meh. I think I'm just gonna maybe like do some editing stuff, video editing stuff, and read some more Mal Flanders, watch some more of my Spanish, or excuse me, Brazilian telenovela. And I will say, I'm sad that this one does not have the English subtitles, but luckily I can understand Portuguese, so I'm okay. But I would have been disappointed if I could not understand Portuguese and I got this, because English subtitles, they have subtitles, but they're in Portuguese. So it's just sort of like a closed captioning thing for the hearing impaired, which is fine, but where's my English subtitles? But I'm luckily I do understand Portuguese, so I'm fine. Um, but yeah, so that's pretty much what I'll be doing for the rest of the evening, taking it easy because I'm going to be out for the day tomorrow at the doctor's. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye!
Hi, Belle. Hi. Hi, sweetie pie. Oh, you want a little belly rub? You want a little belly rub? Yes, you do. Oh.
So I was debating today if I was going to go out anywhere, um, but I decided I'm going to stay in today because I was out all day yesterday. I went to the doctor's yesterday, and he gave me the okay to sort of go back to work on like sort of my regular duties and stuff. Because I've been back to work for the first week was last week, and just sort of modified stuff. I think I mentioned earlier that I was just on cash for a couple of days, and I was bored. Because it's like I like sort of doing different things. That's like a thing that I like about my job. Like it's a retail job, but they have you can be on cash for like a little while, or you can work like on the floor for a little while, like organizing the racks and stuff. You could be like doing returns, like putting, go backs and all that. And I just, for this first week, I haven't been able to do that. I was just sort of on cash, sitting down, and it just felt like the day would just drag, or the evening, because I work evenings, would just like drag on, and a 5 hour shift ended up feeling like a regular sort of 8 hour shift, because just time would just drag. Um, so went to the doctor's yesterday for sort of an update checkup thing, and I am pretty good to go back and do like my regular duties. It's still like I woke up today and it was like a little more sore, um, my leg, but it's just sort of, they said that, like, when you go back and when you're doing like your normal duties, if you need to take breaks, take breaks. And if you find that like after a week or two that it's sort of like getting more sore and you're not quite ready to like you're pushing yourself too much, then they can like reevaluate and maybe scale it back again to modified duties, which um so yeah, so yesterday we did that. Then we spent the rest of the day at my sister's, um, and we watched we watched the rest of season 3 of Stranger Things, which means I've seen the season finale of Stranger Things. And no, no, I'm in denial. No, Jim Bobby is not dead. We call him Jim. I know it's Jim Hopper, but we call him Jim Bobby because he is like Bobby from Supernatural, for like Dean and Sam, and how he always like looked out for them, and you know he's so we nicknamed him Jim Bobby, and I refuse to believe that he's dead. No. And I had said like the whole time I was like, oh, I want Elle to stay with Joyce and Jim Bobby, and I want them to be like a family. And so like she's with Joyce now, but it's like that's not what I wanted. That's not the way that I wanted it. I wanted her and Jim Bobby like as like a family. And so that, but oh my god, it's such a great show. Such a great show. Um and I fell like so in like sweet like caring for that Russian Alexei who all he wanted in life was a cherry Slurpee and they killed him. That was the first time I cried in that yesterday. Not the first time I cried in the show, but that was what started it off. Was when they killed Alexei. And that, just, no. My sister keeps teasing me. She's like, "Yeah, denial is one of the first stages of grief." I'm like, "Shut up, stop it." um, yeah. So that was very sad. So yeah, I spent the day with my sister and my niece and nephew, and so today I'm sort of just I was really debating it because I was like, I want to go out, but I, I'm going back to work tomorrow, so this is sort of like my last free kind of day of the week to to do stuff. So I wanted to figure I'd start off, took a shower, um, called the work people, the work board, WSIB, um, to sort of update them on my doctor's visit and figure out like um, what I'll be getting in terms of compensation for the time at work that I missed. So that's all set. That's all good. Thank you, goodness. Um, and I figure I want to do some filming today. Um, Probably I'm going to be doing my reaction for Supernatural season 12, episode 10, which I haven't done yet. Uh, just sort of like I kind of ran out of time and just yeah, been kind of busy the past 2 days and do some more watching of this Brazilian telenovela, which I can say with certainty now that I hate this bitch. I hate her so much. She is like she. At first, I wasn't sure. Like when she came on, I was like, oh, like she's looked like she's had like a hard time. Like was she kidnapping the Indians or like what? It's like no, she just wants to be one of them and be like all like you know wild and like not like her colonial family. She wants to be like a badass warrior and just be wild and just like be like in the Indian or Native American or native culture and like wear like the makeup like them and like just behave like them and just and um she is like obsessed with this guy Thiago who uh is her cousin so much to the point where she ended up sleeping with him. They ended up having the sex. But every time it shows it, like eventually he, gives in and like, he consents sort of during the act. But before it, it's almost like she rapes him. And he is just sort of like overcome by his base male nature and, gives in. But every time they replay that scene and like how it starts and how she like basically attacks him, I want to call it like she rapes him, even though he gives in halfway through. And then he's had like this whole shame of it, and just is just horrified. And then we find out that she's pregnant, and she doesn't care about the baby. She, yeah, she doesn't want it, like, pretty much at all. Um, she only uses it to sort of be snarky to Tiago's wife Beatriz, who Tiago actually does love, and they're so beautiful together. And she's just like hanging around and like doing everything she can to um, sort of ruin them and like bring this like dark cloud over them all the time and like poke at his shame of having slept with her and his feeling that like he's not good enough for Beatriz. And then we find out that, oh, nay, nay, they're not cousins. They're brother and sister. She, to her credit, did not know this. I, but knowing her, I don't think it would have changed anything. I really don't, because she is that bitch. She is that big of a bitch. That I don't believe it would have changed anything. She still would have attacked him and forced him to have sex with her. But Thiago finds out that, and like, he and Beatrice were like happy for like 5 minutes. And then he finds out that not only is this woman pregnant, but you stooped your sister. So he is like off. He wants to like get away from Beatrice and not like sully her with his sin. Um, he like thinks about killing himself, and I hate her so much. I hate so much. Um, and then like the family sort of finds out that she's pregnant, but she doesn't want to say sort of who the father is. And so they're all like trying to find out who the father is. They think it's this Indian friend that she has. Um, and uh, she, denies it, I think. I think she denies it, and but they're convinced that it's him. And so knowing that they think that it's him, you would think that she would want to stay away from this poor Indian boy. But no, she, because she's a wild, feral creature, she goes and she like um starts like kissing him and like is like overcome by her wild passions because that's just who she is inside. And so she's kissing him, and he is like, I believe that like he's always kind of carried a torch for her. Um so like he kind of gives in, and they're like together and like making out. And then her who she thought was her cousin, but her brother, not Chago, but another guy, um the wife of the wife that wants to the husband of the wife who wants to get pregnant and can't seem to get pregnant. And so this bitch Isabel like drugged her to like, I think, like try and like make her pregnant or something, I don't know. But her husband comes upon Isabel and the Indian boy, and um is like, I knew that you were the father and you sullied my cousin and blah blah blah, and you have to like pay for her honor and blah blah blah. And the Indian boy doesn't say anything because the Indian boy knows that Chagu's the father, but he doesn't want to betray Isabel's trust, so he doesn't say anything. And Isabel doesn't say anything. And the guy, and I said to myself, if he kills the, like, because up to this point, um this guy, I thought he was a nice guy, and he and the father, the patriarch was a bit of an ass butt, and like a old school kind of thinking ass butt. Um, but the husbands of the wife, one of the husbands has actually been kidnapped by Indians, so that's a whole other thing that's happening. And I like them. This husband, whose wife can't get pregnant, I thought like he was a good guy too, and I was I was watching the scene and I'm like, if he kills this poor Indian boy, I am done. I am done with anything having to do with this bitch, and I'm gonna be like skipping scenes because I don't want to know, and I don't give a shit about anything that happens to this. I will be skipping scenes until I see that she dies because, and they don't play her. They don't like portray her as she's like a villainess or anything. She's just this wild creature who can't be tamed, but she's not a good person. Like they're trying to make her like this warrior woman that she's like so badass and blah blah blah, but no, she's this selfish, horrible, horrible woman. And I want her to die. And I cannot wait till she dies. So Tiago has left Beatriz. This poor Indian boy is dead. Isabel is pregnant with her brother's child. And then we have like this subplot with um, the daughter who there's this girl, I think her name is Rosalita, who's the patriarch's youngest daughter, who's fallen in love with this guy who was sort of not the best guy. He was kind of a villain, but I think he's actually like starting to genuinely fall in love with her because he went to the guy, the sadistic, um, his name is Geronimo, the bad guy, the sadistic guy who's married to the Jewish girl named Anna. And Benito, who is this guy, went to Geronimo and said, "I don't want to work for you anymore. Like, I'm out and everything." And then Geronimo was like, "Oh, um, you can't get out. Like, kind of like I own you, that kind of thing." So I think he's actually starting to turn good, but Rosalita has just found a letter, uh, kind of like detailing that makes him look really, really bad, detailing like the bad stuff that he's done, Benito has done. So I think I, that's not going to be good. And her family has sort of turned their back on her because they know that Benito's not a good guy, and that she chose him over her family. So the family's like, "Oh, she's dead to us now." Blah blah. But the story that I'm pretty much focused on now is the Jewish girl named Anna and her love for the guy Guilherme. So she is trapped in this marriage with this sadist weirdo named Geronimo. Um, the only friend she has is this poor Indian girl that I don't remember her name. Mashua, something like that. Um, who Geronimo pretty much abuses any chance he can get. Um, and she has a son. This poor Indian girl has a son who is actually being taken care of by one of the patriarch's daughter-in-laws, the one whose husband has been kidnapped by Indians. Because she doesn't know if her husband is dead or alive, so she's kind of grieving. So she ends up uh, taking this little Indian boy to take care of, and she wants to kind of adopt him to sort of, I guess, make herself feel better, um, and sort of like give some like a focus to sort of like her grief to sort of help her heal. Um, so this little Indian boy is being raised by this woman, and Anna is stuck in this horrible marriage with this sadist, and he took her. He has this dungeon, but not like a fun 50 Shades dungeon, although it does have like chains and whips and like torture implements, but like not the fun kind of torture, the actual like bad kind of torture. And um, so this whole time Geronimo hasn't slept with her because um, he's not, he's trying to keep himself pure, and he's just so freaking weird. But now he decides that it's time for them to consummate their marriage. And she's like, "Fuck no." She does not want it. She is Jon Snow. She don't want it. And he's like, okay, uh, either we cleanse ourselves with consummating our marriage, or you can cleanse yourself through pain in my dungeon. So she understandably chooses pain in the dungeon. So she chooses to stand on these two bricks of like nails and to have her feet basically like pierced by these nails rather than sleep with this dude Geronimo. Now, if you saw this dude Geronimo, you would understand why she chooses the blocks of nails. So her story is pretty much the one I'm most interested right now. Thiago and Beatriz, I love them, but Thiago's being a freaking ass. But I understand you're in horror over the fact that you slept with your sister. But Beatriz, even like when it was like your cousin, she was ready. She forgave Thiago. She was like, "I love you anyway. Like you're not. Stop saying that. Like you're not. That I'm not. That you're not worthy of me. You know, I love you and I want us to be together and blah blah blah." And yet he keeps leaving her. So part of me is like, Beatrice, you know what? Forget this jackass. You know, find somebody better. Which there's this guy Vashku who's sort of like sniffing around her and like likes her, and but I, you know, I don't want them together. But at the same time, I'm like, Tiago keeps pushing her away and being a stupid ass butt. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like frustrated at this point. I'm like, fine. If he wants to freaking like leave you and like be like all like I'm not good enough for you and oh my sins, my sins. You know what? This she deserves to be happy. She deserves to be happy. And if this idiot can't get his head out of his ass and realize that they belong together, I'm yeah. So that's sort of where we are with that one. So I'm going to be skipping a lot because I don't give a shit about Isabel or any of that shit. Um, and I don't understand why they have these two on the cover because and he's like the patriarch. He's the patriarch, and he is a just um just an ass butt, and she is not a heroine. She is not the heroine of this thing by any stretch of the imagination. Um, oh, and then there's the badass. The true badass is this rich lady named Antonia, who I just love, and she thought that like she and Benito were like that Benito was gonna be like a good husband for her in this new land, but he's like now with like Rosalita, and so she she kind of kicked him out before, and like that's how he ended up, you know, actually like going and like being with Rosalita and marrying her kind of, um, and so she's got this like guy who's sort of like sniffing around her, Antonia does, and I like him. I like him, but I don't think she's on board yet because she's sort of like she wants like a nobleman, you know, to like because she is a lady and she thinks that, you know, she deserves a nobleman and like to live like a rich life and stuff, and like this guy is not necessarily a nobleman and not exactly the most strapping of men, but yeah, so that's sort of where they are, and I enjoy her so much. She she's like one of my favorite characters. The real heroine of this story is freaking Anna, who's stuck with this piece of shit sadist Geronimo. She's the true hero heroine, not that crazy psycho Isabel. No, 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 no. So I have a feeling I'm going to be skipping a lot. So going to be watching some more of that. Going to be reading some more of Daniel Defoe's Moll Flanders. which I am enjoying. I haven't hit the halfway mark yet, but I am almost there. Almost there. I'll probably hit it today. The only thing I don't like about this character, about the character of Moll Flanders, is how she doesn't like she's having like these like adventures and these like like amazing things are like happening to her and like um she it, speaking of brother and sister things, she unknowingly marries her brother because she finds out that the man's mother is actually her birth mother, who uh, she was taken away from as a baby when her mother was being held prisoner and was going to be executed, but then they found out she was pregnant, so they um, saved her life and then sent her off to some colony or whatever, and then um, so she had other kids, and one of them was a boy who Maul ends up unknowingly marrying. Yeah, and they they get married, and they're all happy, and they have like two kids, and the mother-in-law is like telling Maul like sort of like her life story, and then Maul realizes that this is actually her birth mother, and she's married to her biological brother. Now the kids are fine, like there's no like um um defects or anything. Uh, but Maul is understandably freaked out and like doesn't want a chance at having any more kids. So she eventually ends up leaving him and trying to find like another husband, like all this. The only thing that I don't like about Maul is the way she just abandons her children. Like the two that she had like with the brother, she like leaves them with the mother, and basically like we never hear of her having anything to do with her children again. And from her first marriage, she also has two children, which we never hear about again. And I yeah, that's the only thing. The only thing that I don't like about her character is um, the way she sort of like disregards her children. And especially considering how she grew up without a mother, uh, uh, without her biological mother. So I'm enjoying it, still enjoying it miles above Pride and Prejudice. Gonna be doing my reaction for Supernatural. I think I'm gonna be making pasta for lunch. Yeah, and then it's back to work tomorrow. Yeah, so hopefully, like yeah, like the weather's getting colder and all that, but hopefully I'll be ready, able like next sort of week to do a bit like more like walking, longer walks, and maybe going back to discover a new free little library. I sort of like debating whether I wanted to do that today, but because I was out all day yesterday, I kind of just wanted to do some sort of like catch up housekeeping stuff around here today because I'm back to work tomorrow. So that's going to be it for this week, and yeah, I will talk to you guys